You have 23 hours today. Tomorrow, you'll have 23 hours again. And the day after that. Not because anyone's counting down, because that's simply what's left of a life that used to have decades in it. Somewhere behind you, a door hasn't opened in 6 years, except for 1 hour a day. You didn't wake up this morning wondering what you'd eat, or who you'd see, or where you'd go. You woke up in the exact same 6 by 9 foot room you fell asleep in. You will wake up in it tomorrow, and the day after. Until one day, you won't. This is what it's actually like to live and die on death row. You're 24 years old. You're standing in a courtroom you've been in for 11 months. The jury foreman stands. Your lawyer's hand is on your shoulder, and you can feel it shaking more than yours is. We find the defendant guilty. The room doesn't move. You don't move. Somewhere behind you, someone, you don't turn to see who, starts crying. 3 days later, the judge says the words that end the life you knew, even though your body will keep breathing for years after. The sentence of this court is death. You are handcuffed, not to be taken to a regular prison, to a different place entirely, one with its own wing, its own rules, its own silence. You arrive at 11:40 p.m. They always bring you in at night so no one sees. They take your clothes. They take your name in a way. From now on, you're a number stitched onto a jumpsuit. Inmate number 999-847. A guard walks you down a corridor lined with steel doors, each one holding someone exactly like you. Someone shouts through a slot in a door. You don't know if it's a threat or a welcome. Your cell, 6 feet wide, 9 feet long. A steel bed, a steel toilet, a single window, 4 inches wide, too high to see out of without standing on the bed. This is where you will live for the next several years, possibly the next several decades. No one can tell you which. Month 3. You've learned the schedule now because the schedule never changes. 5 a.m., lights on. 5:30 a.m., a tray slides through a slot in your door. Powdered eggs, always. 11 a.m., 1 hour outside, alone in a concrete pen the size of a parking space. A chain link roof overhead so you can see sky but never touch open air. 6 p.m., dinner tray. 9 p.m., lights stay on. They never fully turn off. Not for you. You are alone in your cell 23 hours a day. Every day. For years. You start talking to yourself just to hear a voice that isn't a guard's. You start noticing tiny things. A crack in the wall shaped like a river. The exact sound the door makes 40 minutes before a meal. Time doesn't move forward here, it just repeats. Year 2. Your lawyer visits. Manila folder, 3 inches thick. We're filing an appeal, she says. It could take years. It could take a decade. You feel something you haven't felt since the sentencing. Hope. Thin as it is. You learn the process. Direct appeal, then state post-conviction, then federal habeas corpus. Each one takes years. Each one can fail with a single signature from a judge you'll never meet. You spend hours in the law library, 3 hours a week, the only real research a death row inmate is legally allowed. You read your own case file until you know it better than the lawyers who wrote it. You realize the appeals aren't really about getting out. They're about buying days, weeks, sometimes just enough time to see one more birthday. Year 4. Your mother visits for the first time in 18 months. The drive is 6 hours each way for her. You sit across from her, a thick pane of glass and a phone receiver between you. You can't touch her. You haven't touched another human being in years. No hugs, no handshakes, nothing. She's aged more than 4 years should age a person. You realize your sentence didn't just take your life. It's been quietly consuming hers too. She brings you a photo of your niece, born after you were sentenced. You've never held her. You never will. When the guard says time's up, your mother presses her palm to the glass. You press yours to meet it, glass between your hands, the closest thing to touch you've had in years. Year 7. A letter arrives from the court. You know what it is before you open it. An execution date has been set. 14 months from today. You've heard about this moment from other inmates. Some scream, some go silent for days, some simply nod, like they always knew this envelope was coming. You don't sleep that night. You do the math you never wanted to do. 14 months is 426 days. You count them anyway, even though counting doesn't slow them down. Your lawyer files an emergency appeal within the week. The clock doesn't stop. It just gets a countdown attached to it now, ticking in a way it never did before. Month 11 of the countdown. 2 days before your scheduled date, a federal judge grants a stay of execution. You find out from a guard, not a lawyer. He slides a piece of paper under your door at 6 a.m. and says nothing. You read it 4 times before your hand stops shaking enough to hold it steady. You've been granted more time. Not freedom, not innocence, just more days. The appeals process resets, drags on for another 18 months, maybe longer. You realize this will likely happen again and again. A cycle of dates set, then postponed, then set again. Sometimes for a decade or more before anything is final. Year 14. Your final appeal, the U.S. Supreme Court declines to hear your case. One sentence on official letterhead ends 14 years of legal fighting. Certiorari denied. There's nothing left to file. No court left to ask. Your lawyer, the same one who first sat across from you at 24 years old, is crying on the phone. She's older now too. You both are. A new date is set. This time, everyone in the process, the guards, the chaplain, your lawyer, treats it differently. Quieter. Final. You're offered a last meal request. You're asked who you want present. You're asked plainly if you have a final statement prepared. You are 38 years old. You've spent more of your adult life on death row than you ever spent free. Your mother visits one final time. No glass this time. A special allowance for this specific day. You hold her hand for the first time in 14 years. Neither of you says much. There isn't much left to say that hasn't already been said in 100 visits before this one. At 6 p.m., you're moved to a holding cell adjacent to the execution chamber. A chaplain sits with you. You're asked one final time if you have any last words. You think about the 24-year-old who stood in that courtroom 14 years ago. You think about how much of him is still in you and how much simply wore away, day by identical day, in a 6x9 room. You realize in your final minutes, the thing no one tells you at level 1, the sentence was never really about the final moment. It was about every single day that led up to it, each one taking a little more of you, long before the end ever arrived. Every death row sentence measures 2 different things: a body that keeps living, and a life that stopped the day the gavel came down. By the time the final day arrives, most of what made you you has already been gone for years. Worn away in identical mornings, powdered eggs, and a pane of glass that never once let you all the way through. That's the part no courtroom ever puts into the sentence. And it's the part that served every single day, whether the final one ever comes or not.